It is 2 in the morning. The glow of the refrigerator light spills across the dark kitchen floor. Alex stands there. He is 32 years old, exhausted from a corporate job that never actually ends, and he is holding a half-eaten sleeve of chocolate chip cookies. He isn't hungry. His stomach is full from dinner. But his hand reaches into the crinkling plastic anyway. He takes another bite. He feels a fleeting wave of comfort, instantly followed by a heavy, sinking wave of guilt. You have been there. We all have. Maybe for you it isn't cookies. Maybe it is a family-sized bag of potato chips. Maybe it is a pint of ice cream that you eat standing over the sink. You tell yourself you are just hungry. You tell yourself you lack discipline. You tell yourself that tomorrow things will be different. Here is what most people miss. Look closely at what Alex is eating. Look at the specific choice of the chocolate chip cookie. Why that? Why not a crisp green apple? Why not a handful of raw almonds? Why is it that when you are pushed to your absolute mental breaking point, you never aggressively crave a salad? The answer to that question is buried deep inside a vault in your brain, guarded by a mechanism that is millions of years old. We will unlock that vault. But not yet. This is not a story about weak willpower. This is not a story about broken diets. This is not a story about gluttony. This is a story about a survival system that is working exactly as it was designed to. To understand why you eat when you are stressed, you have to go back. Way back. Imagine a man named Elam. He is our hunter-gatherer ancestor, living on a sprawling savanna 50,000 years ago. Elam is walking through tall grass when he hears a snap. A predator is stalking him. A lion. In a fraction of a second, a biological alarm bell goes off in Elam's brain. This is the HPA axis. The hypothalamus-pituitary-adrenal axis. It is your body's ultimate emergency override system. When the HPA axis fires, it floods Elam's bloodstream with adrenaline and cortisol. His heart rate explodes. His pupils dilate. Digestion completely shuts down. His body is diverting every single ounce of available energy to his legs so he can run. And he does run. He runs for his life. He escapes. He collapses in a cave, gasping for air. The immediate danger is gone. But his body has just burned through a massive amount of cellular energy. His brain registers a severe deficit. It sends out a chemical distress signal demanding instant, dense calories to replenish the reserves. Fat, sugar, carbohydrates. Elam finds a beehive and gorges on raw honey, absorbing the dense energy his body needs to recover from surviving a near-death experience. That is the HPA axis working perfectly. The stress triggers the run. The survival triggers the craving. The craving restores the energy. But it gets stranger. Let us travel from the ancient savanna to the dusty plains of modern Kenya. Here we find Dr. Robert Sapolsky. He is a brilliant neuroendocrinologist who spent decades shooting wild baboons with tranquilizer darts. He wasn't hunting them. He was taking their blood. Sapolsky wanted to measure their stress hormones. And he discovered something terrifying. Baboons, much like humans, have complex social hierarchies. They don't just stress about lions. They stress about status. They stress about who is glaring at them. They stress about social isolation. And Sapolsky found that baboons at the bottom of the social ladder had constantly elevated levels of stress hormones in their blood. They were swimming in cortisol. Not for 3 minutes while running from a predator, but all day, every day. And this is where the evolutionary trap snaps shut on you. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a physical threat and a psychological one. When you open your email and see a passive-aggressive message from your boss, your HPA axis fires. When you check your bank account and realize you are short on rent, your HPA axis fires. When you scroll through social media and feel a crushing sense of inadequacy, your HPA axis fires. You are sitting perfectly still in an ergonomic office chair, but biologically, your body thinks you are running from a lion. Every single day. Stay with me. Meet Sarah. She is a 20-year-old nursing student. It is midnight, and she is vibrating with anxiety in a sterile university library. She has a critical anatomy exam in 8 hours. If she fails, she loses her scholarship. Her body is pumping out a specific class of hormones called glucocorticoids. These are the long-term stress messengers. And glucocorticoids have one massive, overwhelming biological mandate. They command the brain to seek out and consume high-calorie, easily stored energy. Sarah isn't running from a predator. She hasn't burned a single physical calorie sitting at that desk. But her glucocorticoids don't know that. They are screaming at her brain, demanding fat and sugar to survive this perceived life-or-death crisis. So she packs up her books. She walks out of the library. She drives to a 24-hour convenience store. And she walks right past the fresh fruit. She heads straight for the candy aisle. If you are watching this, you probably want to understand the hidden forces controlling your own mind. You want to know why you do the things you do. If this is helping you see yourself more clearly, take a second to subscribe and leave a comment below. It helps us keep uncovering these stories for you. Now watch what happens next. When Sarah rips open that candy bar, she is stepping into a modern minefield. Enter Dr. Nora Fokow. She is a pioneering neuroscientist who spent her career putting human beings inside functional MRI machines. She wanted to map the neurocircuitry of addiction. And when she scanned the brains of people eating highly processed junk food, the screens lit up like fireworks. Fokow was looking at the impact of hyperpalatable foods. These are not foods found in nature. These are chemical compounds engineered in laboratories by food scientists. They are designed with a precise, mathematically perfect ratio of fat, sugar, and salt to completely bypass your natural satiety signals. When Sarah eats that candy bar, it hits her tongue. A massive surge of dopamine floods her brain's reward center. Dopamine is not just about pleasure. It is about learning. It is the chemical that says, whatever you just did, do it again. Your survival depends on it. When Elam ate the wild honey 50,000 years ago, he got a small dopamine reward. When Sarah eats a hyperpalatable candy bar, she gets a dopamine explosion so violent it mirrors the brain scans of someone using hard narcotics. As Fokow noted in her research, this highly engineered food can act on the brain exactly like a drug of abuse. And here is the most devastating part. When you are chronically stressed, your brain actually downregulates its own dopamine receptors. It turns down the volume on everyday joy. A sunset doesn't feel as good. A conversation with a friend feels hollow. Your baseline of happiness drops. You feel numb. So you need a louder signal just to feel normal. You need a bigger hit. You need the hyperpalatable food. Pay attention to this. This is not a failure of character. This is not a lack of moral fiber. This is not a sign that you are weak. This is a multi-billion-dollar food industry perfectly exploiting a millions of years old stress response system. Let us go to the absolute peak of human stress. You are sitting in a sterile, brightly lit hospital cafeteria. It is 3 p.m. The air smells like bleach and stale coffee. You are waiting for a surgeon to walk through double doors and tell you if the person you love most in the world is going to survive. Your chest is tight. Your breath is shallow. The cortisol in your veins is toxic. The psychological pain is so sharp it feels like a physical wound. You stand up. You walk over to a humming vending machine in the corner. You look through the glass. You don't see food. You see medicine. You put in a crumpled bill. You press the buttons. The metal coil turns. A chocolate bar drops. This brings us back to our locked vault. Remember Alex in his kitchen at 2 a.m, holding the specific chocolate chip cookie? Why not the apple? Because an apple requires chewing. It has fiber. It takes time to digest. It does not trigger a rapid dopamine spike. An apple is nutrition. The cookie is anesthesia. When Alex, or Sarah, or you in the hospital, bites into that cookie, the refined sugar and fat melt on the tongue instantly. It crosses the blood-brain barrier rapidly. It forces the brain to release a sudden, massive wave of serotonin and dopamine. For exactly 4 seconds, the anxiety stops. For exactly 4 seconds, the crushing weight of the world is lifted. For exactly 4 seconds, the brain feels safe. You do not eat the cookie because you are hungry. You eat the cookie because you are in pain, and your biology is screaming for a painkiller. We have built a world that keeps us in a constant state of low-grade panic, and we have surrounded ourselves with engineered foods that offer temporary chemical relief. It is the perfect trap. But understanding the trap is the first step to walking out of it. Here are the 3 things you need to take away from this. First, your stress cravings are not a sign of weakness. They are a highly evolved biological mandate. Your HPA Axis and your glucocorticoids are trying to save your life the only way they know how. Stop fighting your biology with shame. Second, the environment is rigged against you. When you are stressed, your dopamine receptors are muted. Hyperpalatable foods are intentionally designed to exploit that specific vulnerability. You are bringing willpower to a neurochemical gunfight. And third, The next time you find yourself standing in the dark, staring into the refrigerator at 2 in the morning, holding something you don't even want to eat, pause. Look at your hands. Ask yourself what you are actually hungry for. Are you starving for calories? Or are you starving for safety, for rest, for peace? The food will never fix the feeling. It will only pause it. Which moment in this biological journey surprised you the most? Tell me below in the comments. Your body is an ancient machine trying to survive a modern world. Give it some grace.